He thought he owned the school and could torment anyone without consequence, until the day he pushed the new girl into a pond swarming with piranhas. No one expected her to survive, but what happened next turned the bully into the one crying for help. If you love your mom and dad, hit that subscribe button and show some love to her right now. Jake Reynolds was the kind of high school bully everyone feared. Tall, athletic, and from a wealthy family who practically owned half the town, he believed he could get away with anything. He mocked teachers, intimidated students, and ruled the hallways like his personal kingdom. His parents, always busy managing their luxury resort chain, never corrected his behavior. Instead, they bought silence whenever Jake's actions caused trouble. At North Valley High, rumors of his cruelty spread far beyond school walls, but everything began to change the day a quiet transfer student named Ava Monroe walked into class. She was small, polite, and dressed plainly compared to the others. Some students whispered she had moved from a small town after losing both her parents in a tragic accident. That alone was enough for Jake to see her as an easy target. What no one knew was that Ava carried a strength born from loss and survival. She had grown up near dangerous waters in the Amazon region, where being careful meant staying alive. She was observant, calculating, and far from helpless. Jake's first encounter with her happened in the cafeteria when he deliberately shoved her tray from the table, spilling food everywhere. Everyone watched, waiting for the shy girl to cry. Instead, she calmly picked up her tray, looked Jake straight in the eyes, and said in a quiet voice, "Whatever you do to others finds its way back to you." The words unsettled him for a moment, but he shrugged it off in front of his friends, laughing loudly and calling her names. Books, spread rumors, and even hacked her school profile to post embarrassing lies. Ava never reacted angrily, which pushed Jake further. He hated that she seemed unaffected. His frustration grew until one afternoon during a school field trip to the North Valley Wildlife Rehabilitation Reserve, a place owned by Jake's father. The reserve had multiple ponds and exotic animals brought in for conservation projects, including a restricted pond containing piranhas, imported under special study permits. Ava stood by the pond, quietly sketching the landscape for her biology project. Jake, surrounded by his friends, saw an opportunity to humiliate her in front of the class. Without warning, he rushed toward her and shoved her hard into the water, laughing as students screamed in horror. For a moment, Ava disappeared under the surface. Panic erupted. Teachers screamed. Even Jake's friends turned pale as the water rippled violently. But instead of chaos beneath, Ava emerged calmly, swimming to the shallow side with calculated movements. What people didn't know was that Ava had learned survival techniques near the Amazon River and understood how to move in water without triggering aggressive responses from certain aquatic predators. She exited the pond with only minor scratches. Jake, trying to salvage attention, laughed and shouted, "Guess even the piranhas don't want you." Before anyone could respond, a wildlife officer arrived, furious at Jake for breaching the restricted area. He immediately called security and emergency services. As the commotion continued, something moved rapidly in the pond. Jake, eager to prove his fearlessness, climbed onto the barrier holding the pond equipment and stepped onto a floating platform to retrieve a decorative flag someone had dropped in. But his foot slipped. Within seconds, he plunged into the pond, splashing violently. This time, the response was instant. The water churned aggressively as the piranhas, disturbed by sudden erratic movement, surrounded him. Jake began screaming frantically, thrashing around and begging for help. Students watched in shock. Ava, despite everything he had done to her, grabbed a rescue pole and shouted instructions to him. "Stay still. If you keep moving, they'll attack harder." Jake, in agony and bleeding from small cuts, froze, sobbing and begging for mercy. Together with wildlife officers, Ava helped pull him from the water. Jake was rushed to the hospital with multiple bite wounds, not life-threatening, but painful and permanently scarring. His wealthy parents rushed in, demanding answers, but the reserve's investigation quickly revealed that Jake had violated safety protocols. What happened next turned the tables completely. The entire incident had been captured by the reserve's security cameras, including the part where Jake intentionally pushed Ava into the pond. The video went viral within hours. News outlets across the country covered it, highlighting the cruelty he displayed and the calm bravery of Ava. Instead of sympathy, Jake found himself isolated. Bullying complaints from past students resurfaced. His father's company faced major backlash for trying to cover up previous incidents. Meanwhile, Ava became a symbol of resilience. She didn't demand punishment or revenge. Instead, she gave a statement to local authorities saying, "Pain doesn't justify causing more pain. I hope he learns that strength isn't found in hurting others, but in surviving what life throws at us." Her words drew nationwide attention. Jake was suspended from school, ordered to attend therapy and participate in mandatory community service programs focusing on anti-bullying and wildlife protection. The scars on his arms and legs became a constant reminder of his actions. Over months, he slowly changed. One afternoon, he approached Ava in the school hallway, visibly humbled. He quietly apologized, tears filling his eyes, saying he understood now what she meant the day in the cafeteria. Ava looked at him, nodded, and said, "Growth begins when we stop hurting others and start healing ourselves." The school invited Ava to speak at an assembly on anti-bullying. Her speech received a standing ovation. She talked about her parents, their strength and empathy, and how she carried those values with her. Jake stood in the audience, head bowed, clapping quietly with the rest. Years later, Ava became a trauma counselor and advocate for youth safety. Jake joined her efforts and helped fund awareness programs. Their story became a viral documentary titled The Pond, inspiring thousands across the nation. And though their lives took different paths, the moment at that piranha pond became the turning point not just for Jake, but for every student who believed silence was safety. Sometimes it takes facing your deepest fear, just moments from destruction, to truly understand the value of compassion.